Happy full moon in Virgo. Yes, it is 2026 and it's the full moon in Virgo. And so the sun is in Pisces and we have an eclipse, a lunar eclipse. The nodes, this is the last eclipse with the nodes, North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. So I want to take a little bit more time to go more deeply into contemplating the axes between Virgo and Pisces. Pisces is the place where we kind of put so many, like we put the culmination of the whole natural zodiac in the sign of Pisces. That it is the spiritual realm, it is the ashram, it's the madhouse, it's the mystic, it's the madman, it's everything and nothing. It's the alpha and the omega, it's the fishes, And then Virgo, the archetype of Virgo is often understood much more in its earthly manifestations as, very exacting, and the idea of purging and perfecting. They're known to be well organized and kind of picky, perfecting. But the more esoteric picture of it is based on not only kind of the maiden idea of the virgin, but virgin as a priestess, virgin as an actual spiritual station. When we look at the story of Christ and how it was Mary who bore Jesus, Mary, also another euphemism, or not euphemism, that's not what you say, another way of saying a spiritual status. But Mary the Virgin, that is actually, it's not necessarily about the technicalities around her hymen. It's actually really about how far she had advanced in her own practices, which makes so much sense, doesn't it? It's not like Joe Schmo or Jane Schmo is going to carry the Christ being, or, the being that Christ will incarnate into. It has to be, of course, an initiate. So I digress, but this is connected to the Virgo archetype. Now together, Virgo and Pisces, they are opposites, and this axis sometimes can be referred to as the axis of initiation. So what is initiation? It used to be much clearer for our human beings that there were certain stages in our life that were initiatory, and it was a coming of age. So whether it was an initiation around puberty or around motherhood or becoming a man, it all had to do with how we stepped into not only our communities but our own self-development. So after these ages that are very much about just how we get older and what naturally happens, and honoring that and connecting it to a spiritual practice and to a spiritual life. It was also about status and community. But then the next evolution and initiations have much more to do with spiritual practices. So Pisces can be talked about as innocent. In its shadow, it's naive. In its exaltation, it's this wonder and awe that we all need for any spiritual aspirations. Virgo, on the other hand, as I mentioned, this idea of the priestess and the virgin connected to a kind of a spiritual status where there is an integrity that is so high that there's no discrepancy between what is said, what is done, what is felt, what is thought. These are essential for, that kind of integrity is really essential for a spiritual path and for moving through initiation. Pisces then is a water sign, and in modern astrology, our go-to with water is we talk about the emotional life, but we want to also remember that traditionally water often referred to the spiritual realm. Then Virgo is an earth sign. And for me, this is the practice of how our initiations actually have to take place here on earth. And that's part of what the challenge is to really honor material, not dismiss it and deny it, and be present in our body, in our daily life, and still walk a path of spirit. Another thing I connect to kind of this earthly expression of initiation is that we actually need to have a clear spiritual framework in order to walk a spiritual path and to go through those spiritual initiations. So this is where we are so full in the confusion that can live in the Pisces, where there's conflation of different ideas. There are people who are busy renaming things that we can't find kind of our autonomy as spiritual students. There is misunderstandings even about what the spirit realm is. I want to clarify, like, I'm practicing to be a mystic, but I'm not a mystic. I'm a student of mystics. I study with Gigi Young. I study Rudolf Steiner and spiritual science. I study with Orland Bishop, with R. Thorenson. And these are specific teachers that for me have spoken in such a way that not only make me feel like I'm remembering what they're talking about, but they're talking from lineages. They're talking from experience. So a mystic can experience the spiritual realm and then speak about it. And a mystic, therefore, has the right to be a spiritual leader. Again, I'm a student of spiritual mystics walking on a spiritual path. And this distinction, I think, is so important today because so much confusion is around in the new age. One person will have an experience with some substance, whether it's with a shaman or not, and feel that their experience was a spiritual experience. Now, of course, we are all spiritual beings, but having a trip doesn't mean that you've seen the spiritual world. It may open your heart in such a way that you can actually go on your spiritual path, actually start your practices, but it itself is not an experience of the spiritual realm. There's also so much confusion about, there's stories that are fiction. There's stories that are, fables. There are stories that are real stories of saints and stories from mystics. And today people kind of glom them into one. So I've noticed in the New Age communities, conversations will be confused because someone actually is citing a piece of fiction as if it's confirming a spiritual idea. We also want to notice that this idea of lineage is so vital because there's a lot of misinformation and propaganda in the New Age because it's to the benefit of other forces that we are confused and lost. And so there are stories about, for instance, the Anunnaki or the stories of aliens and ships and the intergalactic federation and stuff that we can trace all of their origins to work that only happened in 1910. And then there's certain authors that have proliferated this idea. It's not connected to real lineage. And this is where every Pisces needs the Virgo energy. Every Piscean kind of impulse needs the Virgoing, exacting precision and perfecting element. So during this full moon, I want you to take a little time to actually get more precise with where you are in your spiritual work. Are you in the beginning? It's a wonderful and tremendous place to be. Have you been working in such a way that you are turning inward to search for your experience? Or are you still confused and relying on outer substances to catapult you into experience? Are you able to evaluate your experience based on study? So with this Virgo full moon, have that moment of honesty. Purge yourself from that false ideas of, being all okay and happy and good, or further ahead than you actually are. This isn't to take you down a notch. It's really to start being more precise so that we can be more effective on our spiritual path and in our practices. I think that's what I want to share for today. So the axis of Virgo and Pisces can be referred to as the axis of initiation, and any place on that path is a good place to be. But are you on the path? With so much love. Happy full moon.